Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC and with me Al.
Wolf.
And Jaya.
And today, I'm not sure if you listeners noticed this, but we are in the middle of a pandemic for the past few months. And this has taken a toll on the entire world, as you probably see. And of course, among the things that are closed down and even shut down permanently are movie theaters. Some are trying to be open, but most of the time, movies are not being released in theaters anymore. And now, movie companies are just starting to release their movies straight to streaming services or home media. So today we are just gonna discuss this topic because it does kind of impact what we do here. We are talking about movies a lot of the time, and we thought it would be an interesting idea to talk about, especially with recent announcements regarding this. So just to start off, what are your guys' general thoughts about going to see a movie in theaters? Do you enjoy it or do you prefer to just be at home? I guess I'll start.
Well, okay.
So basically, I'll keep this short. That I enjoy going to theaters. It sometimes can enhance the experience of watching a movie, and it's also nice that when it's something that you are looking forward to for a long time, and you know there's a fan base for it, you can kind of experience it with other people that love it just as much as you do. But at the same time, if I miss a movie in theaters, if I really like the movie after watching this, I can be kind of bitter that I didn't see it on the big screen, but I also want to lose sleep over it.
So for us, watching movies is a treat, but I'm super picky about it. For me, it either has to be a really good movie or one that I've been anticipating for a while. Because I remember sometimes with the family, we go to see movies that ended up not being as good. Like my brother Jay, he and his friend have the theory that if a movie has explosions in it, then it's watchable because you'll be entertained. But also, for class homework in Spanish, I had to go see La Misma Luna in theaters, and I felt like that was not worth the money. All due respect to a movie
Yeah,
Spanish
well,
that I could understand with subtitles.
mhm. Sometimes you
Hmm.
want to go support the creators, but sometimes the movie is just not your liking. It's fair.
Indeed,
Um,
I to the movies with my brothers though. Jay is a really cool guy to watch movies with, and we've mainly been seeing Marvel movies in theaters.
mhm.
And so we definitely like going when you have a choice about seeing the movie and when you can evaluate it ahead of time. That way you can get into the full experience, getting to sit in front of the big screen with some snacks and either affectionately roasting the previews or getting incited by them.
Mhm. Okay. Wolf, what about you?
um, this is where I show my curmudgeonly old man status on the show and say I'm not a big fan of theaters.
Hmm.
And the
Okay.
biggest
What?
thing, I'm not a big fan of theaters. And the biggest thing for me is comfortability, right? And being able to enjoy that comfortability, right? Like I'm not huge. Like the theater, the biggest thing it provides me is the quality, right? And for me, I'm not too pressed on that. I'm not too. It's not a big thing for me. So for me, it's more about can I be comfortable while watching this film? Can I enjoy this film the way I want to watch it in whatever way that is, right? And this also, I just my family never went to the theater when I was younger. I think we went like one time, and that was it with as a family. Like we just never had the time, or we just never wanted to go. We were doing other things. So yeah, so yeah. I mean, theaters they've never really been a big staple in my life. To be quite honest, they've never been a big thing for me, and I've just they're a thing that I'm just not that interested in. They're not something I'm going to rush out to see the newest, or in particular to see a movie that I really love. I'm not going to rush out to see it in theaters. I'd honestly much rather watch that movie if I really love it in the comfort of my own home, personally.
Hmm. Okay, that's interesting. So, so I guess you could say that when you heard about this entire thing, your basic reaction was like, it doesn't really, it didn't really change anything for you.
Don't get me wrong, right? Like for me, right, hearing that a lot of theaters are having to close down and people are losing their jobs, that sucks. That's horrible. That's not a good thing ever, right? So don't get me wrong on that. I'm not, glad that these places are closing down and that people are
No,
losing something they love,
I'm not saying
right?
that you are.
Just to
I'm not.
make clear to our listeners,
Okay.
again, right? It sucks that people are losing something that they love. I just don't share in that love, unfortunately. I don't know if it's just because I never went when I was younger and I still just don't much care. Maybe I just haven't seen that one movie in theaters that would win me over. But it's every the list of movies I've seen in theaters. I can almost quote to you on one hand. I forget the one I went and saw when I was younger with my family, but more recent films I've seen in theaters. I think the last time I went in theaters was Rogue One. That's it.
Hmm.
That's the last time
That
I've been. That was a
that
while
was
ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah, as I said, I don't go often. So,
Mm-hmm.
and again, I liked Rogue One. It was fun in theaters. It was enjoyable in theaters. But I don't feel like there was any experience there other than watching it with friends. And even that I could get while with going over to a friend's house or being at my own house and inviting friends over or something like that. Right? There was no experience there that I could have had that I couldn't have had elsewhere. Essentially.
Okay, that's fine. But I have a question for you guys. Since you live in the US, I kind of heard I heard this like, in passing. Um, I've heard that some theaters like didn't just close for the pandemic. Some of them just shut down in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least that's what I heard. Mm,
Yes, some
Um,
have.
mhm. Because here, movie theaters are usually like a part of malls. So, it makes sense that, if the mall is shut down, the theater is shut down too. But as long as it's part of the mall, it's kind of around, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think here they would ever shut down permanently, but you feel it. Like whenever I went to the mall, which has my favorite theater in it, and I saw that place, that part of the mall closed, it actually hurt a bit. It was like, oh, that sucks. To just see all the, see it all shut down with the duct tape and stuff. And it's like, why? Just why? Jaya, have you seen like the impact of like a closed movie theater?
Not financially, in the sense, because most of the theaters here are
Hmm. But like you didn't necessarily walk past
child,
by one.
and most of
Everything okay?
no, because thanks to the pandemic, we're all at home, so most of us aren't going to the mall, or in my case, trolling Barnes and Noble for some books after a work day
Mhm.
to celebrate being here and being alive.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I would do after work last year. Sometimes I'd go to Barnes and Noble and I'd just go and chill, and the movie theater was right next door to it, so you could get a glimpse of what's going on. I think in terms of fandom culture, though, I think one thing you miss is seeing the excitement that people have. Like
yeah,
the last movie that Jay and I went to see was Avengers Endgame, and obviously I have mixed feelings about the movie itself with how darn long it is. But there are some moments that you can't replicate at home when you're seeing it with an audience.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
And that's what I miss. I miss that audience experience that you're connecting with a bunch of people and applauding with them. It's the same way with Broadway shows. Hulu now has Broadway shows on recording that were done this year. And you can tell because it is so quiet. It is
Mm,
just quiet when there's supposed to be applause or laughter at joke.
Hmm.
And obviously, the actors are okay with it, even the kids. They're professionals. But you're kind of like, but where's the participation? Where's the connection?
Yeah.
Like if the NBA can have people virtually sign into games and applaud, then they could pretty much do the same for Broadway. Because the arts aren't as appreciated. So at least I think that what you miss is that participation with strangers you've never met. Because while there's nothing scarier than a quiet meeting where no one's even laughing, it's a lot worse when you don't even have the choice to hear it.
Yeah. Actually, on that note, yeah, to those who don't know, I just came out of Hanukkah. And the thing is that there's like a kids show that's coming back every year at this time of year, and with a bunch of celebrities to entertain the kids and stuff. And like
Mm.
this year, they couldn't have done like traditional shows because of the pandemic. So the way they worked around it is that they just had one show that was live streamed, and from what I've heard, they actually ran into some technical difficulties because so many people, logged onto the site together, and the thing just crashed. And the production just kept on going for the actors. They just kept doing their thing, but like halfway through, nobody watched them, and it was kind of sad. Like for
It
them,
is,
you put all this hard work for the audience that's not there, and it is kind of heartbreaking. It,
indeed.
but But yeah, this is you did touch on something that was like, what was the last movie you signed theaters before the pandemic? So Jaya, you said it was Avengers Endgame, and
Hmm.
Wolf, I assume you don't remember. Actually, you
No,
said it was Rogue One.
Rogue One.
Yeah.
Wolf lives
So
under his rock and he enjoys it.
you may have been the right one to the right person to do so. I mean, doesn't look like you're missing much. But I the last movie I saw in theaters before the pandemic was Unworld, which was like right at the tail end of Corona. It was already around by this time, but not at least not where I live, and not to this extent. So like I was like a second before theaters started closing down. It was like dodge that bullet. And honestly, not a bad movie to end on. If I'm honest, I enjoyed Onward. Just sucks that it's like the last one for now. Like it's almost a whole year since that movie came out, and like theaters are still not open.
Yeah, it sucks because I saw Wonder Woman in theaters, and Wonder Woman 1984 was supposed to come out, but now
Yeah,
Wonder Woman's gonna come out digitally, and I'm like, that's not the same. Obviously, I'm gonna
I
watch it.
think I think it's still getting not a widespread one, but there are still theaters that will play it. So if you choose to take the risk, you can. Actually, that's a question. Like if you have the opportunity right now to see a movie in your local theater, I know Wolf probably won't take it, but Jaya, would you? Like if someone told you, "Let's go see Wonder Woman right now in theaters."
Probably not. For one thing, because I already had plans today that don't involve movies. But for
Mhm.
another, it's because I come from a family of doctors and we're taking the pandemic quite seriously. It's one thing
Mhm.
to say to go to
Makes
a
sense.
doctor's appointment or to go to a bookshop in a pandemic because you can keep your distance, you can use hand sanitizer, and sometimes there are things you have to do, like get your teeth checked. So I speak from experience on that. But the big thing is that you don't want to risk being a carrier because for even if you're worried about getting sick, my bigger concern would be responsible for someone else getting sick, especially when you hear about how many Americans are being irresponsible or who are
Not
becoming
just
violent.
Americans, believe me.
Yeah,
Cough,
I mean,
cough.
at
Wear
least
your masks, people. Cough, cough.
and
Yeah.
use hand sanitizer, wash your hands, and try to
Mhm.
hydrate if you can. It's easy to forget to drink water by the day, but
Mhm.
But I think the issue would be, much as I'd love to go to a theater now, I know it wouldn't be safe. Even with the vaccine coming out, it's probably not going to be safe for a few months. And what sucks
Yeah,
about this is obviously a lot of this could have been avoided, so that we'd only have to be at home for a few months.
Mm.
It's just that it's nearly been a year, and so you sort of feel the stir craziness of it.
yeah,
But in terms of that, so no, I probably wouldn't go to a movie theater right now for because of the circumstances. I might go in like a few months if it's deemed safe enough, and as long as if I on the off chance that I were a carrier that I wouldn't be getting someone else sick.
like I think for me it will have to be that one, like you said, if it's deemed safe enough. But then again, if I see a theater is open, I would also kind of try and make sure that there aren't too many people in the specific theater of the movie I want to go see.
Mm-hmm.
You can pre-order tickets or something, and check the theater capacity. And even if so, I want to hope not a lot of people would be there. So even if more join, I can just sit in a safe distance with my mask and not be bothered. Hopefully,
Agreed. Because it really depends on context and also safety procedures and
hmm
making sure that no one is being a dick. So
yeah.
our strategy we had for making sure we could see movies was going a few weeks after it premiered, after the hype died down,
Mhm.
and that way we'd have plenty of room in the theater.
Yeah.
I mean, with How to Train Your Dragon 3, a decision I will regret forever in watching it in theaters. I went in the middle of the day because I was between jobs, and the theater only had about 3 people in it. But I don't necessarily recommend this if you're going to see a movie that disappoints you, because I spent most of the time texting after it became clear that the movie was living up exactly to the word of mouth I had received.
Mhm. Well, that's like something that if you text in the middle of the movie, then the movie failed you. I see.
Yes.
Oh, was yet like I think that same year I went to see Captain Marvel and I fell asleep.
You
So
fell asleep during Captain Marvel, but it had a cat in it. A very cute
it
cat.
was before one. It was before the cat, and two, blame the movie. But that's a topic for another day, though.
So if
So
Goose so if
when
Goose had been in the Marvel logo, you might have stayed awake long enough.
no, the Marvel logo in that one was great because Stanley is the
Yes.
man. But you know, stuff after I don't remember exactly. I just remember that at some point I was like, oh shit, I fell asleep. Huh, that's
When did you
something.
wake up?
She met Nick Fury. That's what I remember. So meanwhile, Wolf is just sitting there like, how was Rogue One? Let's hear from that.
I 4 years ago, I don't know. It was enjoyable. I went there with like a couple friends. We had fun. There was not too many people in the theaters, and I do get right like the theater experience of being there with other people and seeing it with other people, especially for that first time live. There is something to that, There is some, and I completely get that. I'm not that interested in that.
That's fair.
I'm an old man. I
But
hate people. I don't know,
okay.
but
Well, after 4.5 years of doing this, I feel betrayed.
mhm.
Oh, who knows? You stomached me for 4.5 years. Maybe that means I'm the exception. I don't know.
I hate everyone. HC. Everyone. I don't. I don't. Don't take
Jaya,
that
I am
literally,
sorry in
viewers.
his name, and I'm sorry for myself. But to what you said though, because Avengers Endgame was brought up, yeah, this was one of those movies that I went to see at opening day, which I think is kind of one of the kind of a good thing to do sometimes because this is the point where the people are, the audience is the most into it, and you get most of the cheers and most of the reactions and stuff. And I remember that in that movie when Captain America picks up Thor's hammer, and everyone just went wild. And it's like then I saw the movie at home and I was like, I felt like something was missing, you know. Suddenly I'm just saying this and it's just like it's empty. Nobody's here. Nobody's cheering. Nobody's reacting to this. So
Well,
yeah, I enjoy going. Like I said, I enjoy going to theaters for
But
these
for
kind
the
of.
moment,
What did you say?
right, and not just for that scene, it's also,
Yeah,
you
of
know,
course.
the big scene.
Yeah.
That scene. I mean, should we spoil it for our audience? I
Well,
mean,
I think most people in the world saw Endgame by this point, so
all right. Well, I mean, I guess long story short, a bunch of the heroes in Avengers Infinity War had gotten killed by Thanos' snap. And the
yes.
survivors had round and did up and tried to comfort each other, making sense of this broken world. Avengers Endgame has a scene where, thanks to the surviving Avengers undoing the snap, a bunch
All
of
of them
heroes
come
come
back.
through portals. And
Yes.
I remember when I went to theaters that night that people applauded when they saw T'Challa coming through the portal,
Yeah,
along with
that
everyone else. And
yeah,
when,
that was good. I of course cheered the hardest when Spider-Man showed up because I'm a fanboy, but everyone got a big cheer. Yeah, and
yes,
eventually, essentially, you know, also with Captain America going, Avengers Assemble finally, and the final battle starting, everyone was indeed hyped during that time. So again, this was like a theater experience I won't forget. Alongside, I think
indeed,
Harry Potter Deadly Hallows Part Two. That was also a one that I remember enjoying with having fun with the right audience.
let me ask you both this, right? Like, because
indeed.
we bring
I,
up. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, when after my dad died, there was a bit of a stream where my family saw a lot of movies, and mom was just
Mhm.
talking yesterday about how she saw the first hour, half hour of Lord of the Rings, and then she went out and walked in the mall. But we saw Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. But oddly enough, before Avengers Endgame, the place where I saw the biggest audience reaction was people seeing Yoda take out his lightsaber in Attack of the Clones. And Attack of the Clones is a terrible movie. It's one I
Yeah.
can't rewatch, and I don't know why we saw it in theaters because it was a disappointment. But the thing that seemed to make up for going was everyone cheering at Yoda taking out his lightsaber and then showing us why he's the head of the Jedi.
Fair.
Well, you know, even the bad movies have their like one one small thing. Like I remember I went to see Justice League in theaters, talking about a mistake I will never get my time and money back on that. But it was kind of fun to see that the jokes I didn't get did get to some people. Like for example, do you mind Justice League spoilers? You don't. It's a terrible movie. But there's a point there where like after the final battle and everything, um like Bruce Wayne gets Martha Kent's farmhouse back from the bank, and Clark asks him how much did it cost to buy the house back from the bank, and then Bruce Wayne goes, I bought the bank. I don't know, you know, it's such a terrible joke, but to see people actually had fun with it, you know what, fine. It was nice to see some people were having fun with that. I'll because in a movie like this, whenever you see like online posts or something, you think, oh, they're just like trying to be against the norm because everyone hates DC's movies. But it was like, oh no, people actually enjoy that. That's nice.
Let me ask you both this, right? We've brought up the idea of and talked about theater experiences being those very much communal things and experiencing something with a community of people and enjoying that, with that group of people in the theater, right? What are your thoughts on, because we've seen some, Twitch streamers now and even, and I can't believe I'm going to mention this on the show, VTubers and other streamers elsewhere, right? Like those people are starting to do, hey, let's do watch alongs live where you have chat interaction and streamer interaction and things like that, right? Do you think that could replace the community experience from the theater? Ignoring the very toxic element of some of those chat rooms, like putting that off to the side.
I'd say it's
Um,
debatable.
it depends also on the streamer
Hmm.
about They do, and the problem is obviously the main streamers don't exactly do the whole curtailing that they ought to. Like, I'm not even gonna mention the guy who was super anti-Semitic
Mm.
on a video because he shall not disgrace this podcast. But I think about the fact that the streamers that I do like who I follow seem to not have that. Granted, I haven't seen many Let's Plays in years. Mainly, I follow actually Wolfie Dragon Rider Dennis because he's
Yeah,
such a
who
cool
was
guy
on
and
this
fun to
podcast
watch.
before, so I will
Yep.
see.
And I recommend watching Wolfie stream people if he sends you a link because he usually has a good taste in games. Actually, he always has a good taste in games. What am I saying?
Mhm.
And it's gotten to the point where I'd rather watch friends I know stream than others because with a friend, you know they can't break your pedestal because you already know their flaws and vice versa.
Mhm.
With a celebrity, it's a little different. That you sort of believe they're comforting you during a tough time. Like Markiplier helped me get over my fear of Five Nights at Freddy's, which is the dumbest game to have a fear over. But and I
And I
was
won't say it's dumb, it is a horror game. It's not, it's supposed to be scary.
it's
Nothing wrong with being scared.
well, the issue is that then you get scared of the dark and you see the robots in every shadow of your house when the sun goes down,
Okay, that's
and
fine.
that was what I was dealing with after I saw the trailer and a few screen caps of the game, especially once they got full context. But Markiplier was someone who helped me get over my fear because he just gets angry at the game, and his anger oddly makes it less scary for
And
some reason.
it is also kind of less scary when you see him react. I'm not saying that he's not genuine in his reactions, but sometimes when you see him getting scared as well by the jump scares, it does make you feel a bit better about yourself that you're not the only one.
Yes. Oh, or when he loses his mind doing
Yeah.
one of the hard levels, like 1020. The 1020 video, I will still rewatch that because apparently, it took 10 hours for him to beat the level, and he edited it, so I think he really was legitimately getting frustrated because he eventually stopped talking words and he went like Arvin Schnurvin Burgles, Schnurvin Burgles,
Yeah,
and like
that's what I like about him. That he suddenly breaks into gibberish when he's frustrated. But to go back on the question though, because I'm not
sorry.
usually watching streamers when I watch streamers like Jaya said, it's friends, and also when I watch streamers, it's usually video games and not movies. But
Mhm.
one thing I did notice is that there are people that on YouTube. I don't have a specific names at the moment, but they're like watching, they're like recording themselves watching a movie for the first time and and kind of editing a compilation of their best reactions to the movie. And if you support them on Patreon or something, you can actually access their full reaction to the whole thing.
Mhm.
So in that sense, it can kind of work with that idea, but at the same time, you also need to keep in fact when you're going to a theater for something like Avengers Endgame or Harry Potter, there's a big audience. There's like a full packed house of like 1,000 people. And when you're watching this on a YouTube video, there are like what, 4 people max there. I'm not saying the reactions are less fun, and I, but at the same time, it's not you're not there. You're watching a recording, and it's a
Well,
recording that beneficial to you. That because if you like a certain reaction, you can rewind it and watch it again. But it loses experience in it with them
well,
because if you're watching this,
I mean,
you must have know the movie.
there are versions of where you'll have like Twitch streamers that is a live thing, right? That's a live chat that's happening in that moment, and
Yeah, that's
a
true.
live streamer who's streaming it, and yeah, I think it's interesting that we've gotten to a point that you'll have streamers streaming live and saying, "Hey, let's do a watch along." I can't stream the movie specifically because all those legal issues, but we can do a watch along where I can play it and you can just watch me and we watch it together and react together. I think that's interesting per se. I
Mhm.
don't think it'll ever replace the theater experience. Like, even though I'm not a big theater person, I don't think it'll ever replace that experience. But I think it's interesting that we've gotten to that we have that situation where people do want that experience, and so they have found a way to recreate it, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
Ignoring
So,
the very toxic element of some of that, yes.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, so the reason that we all got together to talk about this subject, so a lot of theatrical movies that were supposed to be released in theaters are now also going straight to streaming. We mentioned Wonder Woman, and one of us just said that all of their future movies are gonna be like simultaneous like that. They're gonna premiere HBO Max, but they're also gonna be in theaters. So on that, so what are your thoughts about all of those theatrical movies going straight to streaming? Because we've had plenty of those by this point. There was, I think the first was Trolls World 2. I know Scoob was released straight to streaming. The new SpongeBob movie was as well. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think it's a good solution?
You want to go first, Jaya?
Sure. At this point, it's the only solution we have. I think I have mixed feelings about it because definitely you're missing out on the experience. But on the other hand, having the opportunity makes movies more accessible for people who may otherwise not live near theaters or who possibly cannot afford the chance to do an IMAX. My mixed feelings are that streaming only works if you're watching with someone to get the same reaction. And even then, generally in a movie theater, you have to be quiet. You can't talk during it. And unless you're laughing or applauding, but when you're at home, like I admit I'm a huge talker and a motor. I'll usually talk a lot with Jay and my friends if I'm watching something with them. It
Can testify.
that you're some of Hilda, which is not a movie, but it's an episode.
Yeah,
But
it's still
we have
watching
seen some
something.
movies, and so yeah. But in a theater, it's different because you're quiet and you have to be so that you can get fully absorbed in it. And at this point, obviously, as mentioned, it's not safe to go to a theater even if it was open. But I do wish we had another option as opposed to streaming, such as if we could do what the NBA does, which is letting people buy tickets and sign in so that you can still watch the movie, but you're also being seeing a bunch of other people who've bought tickets and you can hear them. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if the technology can support that necessarily, since Zoom always switches to your face if you start talking, but at least
Mhm.
if that might be an option.
Maybe something to consider for the future. So, Wolf, since you're not a fan of theaters, I'm going to assume you're mostly okay with this idea
I
of new
mean,
movies just coming home.
no, I think. Right, so I am. I would say I'm also in two minds of it. I think, on the one hand, I think this is something we've kind of slowly been moving towards for a while, right? Theaters have always been just on that kind of knife's edge, even before the pandemic, to be quite honest, of, of kind of like being, able to be profitable and being able to maintain their existence and then not, right? I do think I'm of the opinion that I would hate to see them go. I think, again, they do serve their purpose. They are there for a reason, and they are massively helpful to people who are able to enjoy them and do want to enjoy them and can and do enjoy them, right? Like they have their purpose. I don't think they should be entirely gotten rid of. With that said, I do think streaming, eh, releasing a video to a streaming service isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're doing it either at the same time or relatively close to one another, right? I think right now, doing this, it's understandable if you're trying to, again, recuperate the cost from your movie because you do want to release it. Having made it and then just setting on that draining money is not the best of ideas for many companies, I'm sure. But in the future, after the pandemic, after we've moved past this, right? Do we go back to just, oh, it's theater release, then a couple months later, here's your video release or DVD release or streaming release, right? Personally, I'm of the opinion that
Yeah.
maybe we should look at doing this either simultaneously or closer to one another. And the reason I say that is because even after the pandemic, right? There are many people who still just won't be able to go out because that's their life, either through, mental illness or actual handicap or many other things, right? They just are not able to go out into a
Right.
movie theater and experience that. And
Hmm.
for them, the biggest thing is FOMO. I have to now basically limit how, they access the internet because they can't see this movie they really want to see until months later. So, in
Hmm.
that regard, I'm of the opinion that maybe we should be releasing movies simultaneously or trying to work out something to where a stream release or some other kind of release isn't months down the line. Maybe it's just a few weeks instead, or even shorter. Again, I think there's benefits to it. Obviously, it hurts theaters, and that's an issue, right? And obviously, people should be allowed to experience that if they won't. I think, in my opinion, right, if they want to do streaming releases, for me, again, it comes back to that argument of me personally. It's just argument of, do I want that kind of quality and that community experience, or do I just want the comfort of my own home and I just don't want to go out and I just want to experience this by myself and just have my own fun with it and all of that, right? So,
Hmm.
and personally, for many movies, I would be willing to pay extra to stream it on my own and have it in the comfort of my own home when it first releases. Maybe that's something they could look at. And as you said, I think the idea of, a quote unquote virtual movie theater would be really interesting. Of you just of movie theaters have, invest in the equipment to set up and to set up a kind of virtual theater where you can go in and buy a virtual ticket and watch a movie virtually. You're still watching it with other people, but it's still from home. That could be a really interesting thing for them to look into if the technology is there and if they can afford to do it. Again, I think there's a lot of different ways they could potentially take this. I don't think we should go back to just what we've already been doing, which is, oh, here's the theatrical release. Now, a couple months later, here's the streaming release. I don't know if we
I
should
agree with
inherently go
this.
back to that, but I think we should try and find a middle ground after the pandemic is done, maybe potentially, if possible.
Yeah, to add to that, because I do agree with everything you said, I also kind of had the notion that theaters will slowly, kind of losing themselves when ticket prices became higher. And I'm not sure about for you guys, but here, let's assume you go to see a movie with a few friends. The paying to see a movie in theaters, and let's say you're also getting yourself some popcorn and some drinks and stuff can actually cost just as much as buying the Blu-ray. Like, Jaya,
Hmm.
you said you like going to see movies with your family.
Yes.
So would you say that the cost you pay for all of your family to go see a movie together? Would you say it matches how much a Blu-ray would cost once it's finally out?
Well, for one, we don't have a Blu-ray, so we've never had to buy a Blu-ray.
DVD,
With that
Blu-ray,
said,
you know what I mean?
with that said, what with that said, I think in addition to Blu-ray, it's concessions. I can also that also may need to change because all respect to movie theater concessions, it just from what I've read, movie theater employees are punished if there's trash from other shops, from other food shops or
Mm,
candy stores left in movie theater garbages.
yeah,
But the
I
thing
heard
is, I
about
feel
that.
like at this point it's unfair for that. Like,
Mm,
just because someone doesn't buy a $2 box of candy doesn't mean you should take it out on the people who
Mm,
are
yeah.
merely checking the tickets and cleaning up the theaters.
And that's exactly it. You are basically, if you're going as a family or with a group of friends, you're basically paying the same price you would pay for getting a DVD or a Blu-ray or 4K or whatever. And you're paying for to basically see it one time. You also pay extra for all the stuff you're taking in with you, and let's assume you're going for lunch afterwards. That's like costing you extra. So at this point, you can what's stopping people from just waiting, getting the Blu-ray, and then they can just make food and stuff at the comfort of their own home and have the movie available for them to watch whenever they want it.
FOMO. That's
So
kind of
Right.
the thing that's
Right.
kind of the thing that's stopping them at that point is FOMO, the fear of missing out.
yeah, basically.
Not just that, but also the experience of actually being in the theater.
True.
Hmm.
Because you're gonna obviously avoid FOMO if you decide you're not gonna watch the movie at the premiere, but a few weeks later.
Hmm. Oh,
As
trust me, like one of the reasons I kind of prefer to go see movies on as soon as they're released is because I have this in spades, and also because I don't want to be spoiled,
they're
unless
fun.
it's something I don't really care for, you know.
True. Like Pirates of the Caribbean in theaters on Stranger Tides, definitely not worth it.
I saw it in theaters, but I mean, like my personal experience I wanted to bring up is that one of the movies that Warner Brothers announced that is getting like a you know, kind of a double release. It's gonna be in theaters and streaming at the same time. Is Godzilla versus Kong. And people who know me know that I've been waiting for this movie for a long while. It's been delayed a lot of times. It was supposed to come out this year, and then they delayed it for next year. And on the one hand, because I've seen the previous three movies leading up to this one in theaters, so it kind of makes sense that I want to see this one in theaters too, to close that journey properly. And also, it's Godzilla versus Kong. These are like two of the most famous movie monsters of all time. And to see them fight, why would I miss this on the big screen? I would love to see this in theaters, but at the same time, I waited for this for so long, and considering going to theaters is dangerous, like you could have just told me that my only way to watch it is like on those very old flip phones. You remember those? You could tell me that my only option to watch it is on this phone, and I would still take it because I've been waiting for this movie for a while. But
HC, I need
yeah,
to put you through
Oblivion Man.
Wolf's patent pending FOMO get rid of her. I guess terrible name. We're working on the name. It's patent pending.
okay.
First step, you find a rock. Second step, you live under it. Third step, solved. You just ignore everything and you live under a rock and you enjoy it.
But
Okay, you
the
know what?
igneous are metamorphic.
Let me watch Godzilla versus Kong, and maybe I'll get back to you.
You're defeating the
Figure out a better
point
name
of the
anyway.
system, HC. The system. You got to start now. Find a rock.
You know what? A New Year resolution. Let's go with this.
All right, we'll find rock to hide under.
Yeah, find a rock, and and then all you have to do is just pay for me to move to the US, and then everything will be fine.
I can guarantee you it
I
works about half of the time
Okay,
living
good
under
to
the
know.
rock.
Good, good to know that my chances are 50-50. Either it works or either it doesn't.
the rock also needs Wi-Fi, though it sounds like.
Mhm.
Details.
Eh.
You
Well,
figure that
honestly,
out. You figure that out after you get the rock and start living under it.
Yeah, but what if it has
Wolf
bad
just said that
service?
I mean, you just got to find a better rock then. That's your fault for choosing a bad rock. I got lucky. I chose a
I mean,
good
what
rock.
what was it? A seashell fossil? We have a bunch
Close.
of those in the backyard, so
Okay, so I think the basic answer to this is that we're all kind of half and half on the idea of movies going to both theaters and streaming at the same time.
Yeah. Again, like as much as I'm not a fan. As much as I'm not into it. And bah humbug people. Um, it's I do think people losing it isn't a good thing, right? I don't think it should go away forever. I think it definitely has its place, it serves its purpose, and people do enjoy it, and it should stay. And I think we should try and find some way to work that out, if possible, and to make that work. And I think
Yeah.
there are ways to make that work and to give it. either a new life or to make it work for both sides. Right? I do think choice is a good thing. I think having the choice to stream it or having the choice to go to theater would be a good thing. Having those extra choices, allowing people to do that, I think that would be a good thing. It's just finding the right way to do it that doesn't, take something away from people or have a lot of other people lose their jobs potentially, or just have theaters disappear forever. I don't think that should be the solution. I will say, I've heard at least, like, I have no, I don't have a 100%, knowledge of how true this is, but someone I talked with brought up something to me about how Warner Brothers was using, oh, we're going to release all of our videos straight to streaming and not just straight to theaters, at least for now. And were talking about how Warner Brothers was using this to get out of paying contracts to the crews who are working on the films and stuff like that. I don't know how true that is. All I have to go on is hearsay in regards to that. If that is the case and that's what this is being used for, screw you, Warner Brothers. Don't do that.
Yeah, I heard that they're also trying to like pay. Well, I heard that they're trying to pay Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins to praise it after to praise the going to streaming and HBO Max after a few people basically said what you said, that it's stupid. But yeah, something's shady here. And on the
If that's going on, don't do that. Don't be, assholes, Warner Brothers, please.
And on that note, I think Jaya would agree with me on this one. Fuck Disney for how they handled the Mulan's release.
Well, also how they handled Mulan. Period.
Mm.
Yeah,
That
okay, that's a different thing. Quality world standing, and from what I've heard, there's no quality at all. I'm not giving this
nope.
movie my attention. I am, yeah, this was handled very poorly. I don't get it at all. And
Next week, Outcast covers
apparently,
Mulan.
yeah, apparently somebody on my phone didn't agree with this as well. Like, yeah, Disney, this is not how you do it. Not at all. Well, I guess the next thing to talk about is that do you have any other solution to the problem, or is this it? Is this like the state in which we live in until the pandemic is gone at
Uh,
some point?
I think, Jaya brought it up earlier, and I think virtual theaters, that's definitely worth a shot if someone can figure out how to make that work. I think that could potentially hit off quite well. Even if you charged extra for it, I still think you'd get quite a lot of people interested in trying it. If you can get it to work and if you can get companies to sign off on it. Good luck, but
Yeah.
if you can, that's definitely an interesting thought. And even for after the pandemic, right? That's still an interesting thing that you could continue going and continue doing and giving people an experience that is theater like, but from the comfort of home. Like that's definitely an interesting thing. I think there is something there that those much smarter and much more capable than me can potentially figure out and hopefully work out and give people that choice.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, with that said, anything else you want to add before we close the topic?
Mhm. I think another option might be trying for outdoor drive-throughs. I know some theaters have been trying for that because those used to be a thing much more
Uh,
common in the 1950s and 60s, where people would
We
drive up with
have
their
some of
car.
those.
Mm,
We
we do
have
too.
some of those, but the thing about that is, from what I've heard, right? This is I haven't tried this for myself, but one of the reasons that I heard it's not really working out is that usually spaces that hold these kind of things can only show either one or two movies, and so that makes for a limited selection. And let's just say these drive-throughs can get the movies that most people want to see. People aren't going to show up. People aren't going to show up. No money, no profit. But I get
Well, boo.
it can work. It's just, can they make it work? That's the question.
Yeah, I do know that at the Disney World resorts, they do outdoor screenings of movies. At least we caught a glimpse of one of them, where people are sit on chairs outside while, say, Tangled, where The Princess and the Frog is blown up on a big screen. If drive-thrus can't do it, maybe luxury resorts can. I mean, obviously, I don't advocate them being open now, but if they are, at the very least, that's one step they could do to not only make it safer to watch a movie with a crowd, but also to perhaps help release other movies that otherwise wouldn't make it.
That's a good point. I mean, what a shot if people can actually get this thing going. Why not?
I mean, one thing I know I've
Agreed.
seen
Why not?
other theaters do as well is, hey, let's do specialized movie nights, right? Like, here's a bunch of old films that you just cannot watch anymore in theaters, and good
Yeah,
luck
I know
finding
what you're
them
talking about.
online
Yeah.
sometimes. That's an interesting thing that you can do to get people interested and get them to come out. I mean, obviously, don't do that right now, but you know, if you're looking for ways to make theaters more specialized, that too will get
Yeah.
more people to go
Or
to them because that's something they just can't do at home.
the
Yeah,
other
I
thing is
agree.
stuff like sing-alongs,
Mm.
because I mean my family and I saw the Eurovision movie this year, and obviously Will Ferrell is iffy whenever he plays an overgrown man child in his 50s. But but one thing I noticed is the music is really good in that because it's Eurovision, obviously, and they get a bunch of actual
Yeah,
stars. Imagine if you did arranged sing-alongs of that, or song-alongs, as the movie puts it, or of stuff like Disney, because and invite people to participate online where you can hear people's voices. And obviously you need an audiovisual person to make sure there's no bad feedback or something, but that could be another option if you add another tangible benefit that recreates the movie theater experience.
Mhm.
yeah. That's again, we have a bunch of options here. The question is, would people actually take this into consideration? Because like we said, the pandemic does seem to. I don't want to say necessarily that it dies down because some people would say it doesn't, but at the same time, there are talks about the vaccine. Question is if people see the benefit of actually talking about it further and suggesting more solutions. That is beyond our ability to predict, but I guess we can make bets.
Never
What do
underestimate
you think?
boredom, HC. Never underestimate people's boredom, especially now.
I'll take your word for it
Boredom,
because
also
yeah,
the sense of feeling stuck.
Mm.
mhm.
It's not boredom per se, it's more that you feel stuck. There's obviously lots of things you can do at home.
Oh
It's
yeah,
that you miss actually going out and interacting, knowing it's forbidden.
Yeah, but then again, the question is when we bring up the idea of like virtual theaters or something that, it's been a year and nobody really thought about it yet. So the question is, what is the chance that someone is gonna think about it and actually execute it in the next few months?
I mean,
Maybe it's gonna happen.
in the
I'm
next few
not
months
sure.
probably not, right? But things you have to consider, right? Like I I would be surprised if someone hasn't already thought of it because it's not a unique idea by any means. I would be surprised if some of these companies hadn't thought of it already. It's just that one is the technology there, is the infrastructure there for a theater to potentially be able to do this, and two, again, and just would an audience be interested in this? As of right now, yeah, this would probably be a good time to test it because you definitely have an audience that would be interested in it because it'd be something for them to get that human interaction that I think a lot of people might be craving right now because stuck at home with a very few select people and not able to really go out much, if at all. So I
Yep.
think it's definitely potentially possible. It's just more so, can you get any company to sign on to it and say, yeah, I'll let you stream my, recent released movie or insert movie here on your virtual theater, and then just getting the infrastructure set up.
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see regarding that. That
Or
Mm.
is,
yo Disney,
Or
yo whoever other Hollywood, call me. Idea right here. You're welcome.
considering DreamWorks is the one that actually pioneered this idea, intentionally or not, maybe they'll hear you out. Who knows?
it'd be great if
Though
they did
God
that.
help them, yeah. Though God help them, they need the money right now. So
I mean, when Wizards of Once comes out, we're gonna get a whole new fandom obsessed. So I'm looking forward to that.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. The question is, do we have a release date for that? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I hope it's soon though, because book 4 came out in the UK, the last book in the series, and so they gotta get
Mhm.
on it to get the movie
Yeah.
out.
hmm Yeah, question is if they're gonna How to Train a Dragon it and make it completely different because Cressida Cowell, or are they actually gonna stick to what the book was?
It's a good
Here's another
question,
question.
because well, it's a good question because book 1 features genocide and colonization in Europe,
Mhm.
and it talks about forcibly torturing magical creatures. So
Mhm.
maybe not.
Let's just say this is up for DreamWorks to decide, and this is a whole other topic that we can get into some other day. We shall
Right.
see.
The big question is, will they make Czar and Wish appealing to people so you get all the fan art?
Most likely, most likely, because like I said, DreamWorks need the money. So
Yep.
I
They
guess
need the money.
we pretty much covered everything that we have to say on the topic. I guess unless
Mm-hmm.
any one of you want to add something.
I'm good.
Go out and see the movies you want to see now on if you have a streaming service or such, because they are still a great form of entertainment, even if the circumstances are different, and we can show our support in different ways.
That is true. So, with that said, that's all for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed. What are your thoughts about this whole new trend and ways of fighting off the pandemic? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you agree with our alternate solutions? You can tell us all about it in the comment section below, on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team, on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and yeah, Jaya, where can people find you on the web?
So they can find me at my Tumblr at jaiwa.tumblr.com. Though these days I mainly reblog other people's posts. And you can also find me on Medium, and I'll send HC the link, where I write articles about nerd stuff,
Mhm.
including movies,
They're
and
very
maybe
good.
I'll
Go
have something
read
about the
them.
theater experience.
Mhm.
Thank you,
I've read
Wolf.
some. After you sent him the link
You're
last time, I
s-
read a few. They're very good.
you're so
Very enjoyable.
sweet.
Yeah, so you should definitely read what she writes. So, with that said, I think we've went over everything. Have a good day. Take care.
Bye bye.